How's everybody doing? This is Dom again. Of course, you see me. I want to thank you all. We had our board meeting this week. I presented yesterday on our project, and I had two sessions actually. The first session was to deal with the omnibus amendment to paragraph 24 Bravo that the majority of you, in reviewing it, agreed that it was something that was needed. And thankfully, the board agreed with the task force recommendation. Um, it considered respondent comments. We had quite a bit of a debate over different matters, but in essence, the board unanimously, and that's kind of rare, unanimously agreed with the edits. The thing that we are doing is ensuring that for those of you who had concerns over paragraph 24B, um, eliminating flexibilities, for example. The board, and again, never intended that. The board, however, took a measured approach and said, listen, we know there are ways to estimate, right, a total P3 project cost. Independent cost estimates typically accompany every procurement, okay? Um, so if we understand the portion that we're contributing, even if we don't have access to private partner data or if it's restricted for distribution and we need to protect the anonymity or the proprietary nature of the partner's contribution, we can at least estimate, even if it's a range, um, and use that number as a surrogate for the private partner contribution. This way, user needs are still met, right? They have an idea as to what the total P3 package looks like, how much the government is contributing, and by inference, if you will, how much a private partner or partner's contribution would be. Because in many cases, or in some cases, you have more than one partner, right? So the anonymity is protected, the data proprietary concerns are properly dealt with. So I think the board took a really well reasoned approach. Um, it considered respondent comments, both who were for the amendment as is and for those who had concerns. So I think there were concessions made, but it withheld the spirit and the intent of the standard without violating, you know, trespassing into the into the auditing realm, which is what one of the board members mentioned at the August meeting, that the 24B paragraph really should not have been, if you will, operationally interpreted the way it was because it trespassed the audit attestation of management assertions, and we probably shouldn't have gone that far, okay? But the board at the time did intend to give preparers some flexibility. However, as you know, some people took that flexibility and misused it and then incorporated it into other elements of the 24 of paragraph 24 requirements. And it's like the old saying, they kind of spoiled it for everybody because they misused what was given to them as a courtesy, if you will. But we fixed it, okay, or it will be fixed. First thing. Next thing, overall project task force. And that presentation went equally as well, thankfully. Um, One big thing that came up out of that was we're not so sure, the board is not so sure if it wants the case studies and the flow chart as authoritative guidance. So our executive director, Monica Valentine, made a suggestion, which I think the board will entertain, that at the technical release level, level C gap, we can make the case studies and the flowchart appendices, meaning non-authoritative. So this way, the concern was that you preparers, you auditors, would use it as a checklist and kind of morph your notes and your disclosures to the case studies and not really address the requirements. So that's one thing that I think came out. Timeline, again, is going to be what it's going to be, but we are intending to brief the Accounting and Auditing Policy Committee in November. It'll be a similar briefing asking them to approve, if you will, our TR project. I don't suspect that they will stop us from doing this because the board wants it done. However, they may have additional suggestions and ideas that we'll need to entertain as a task force, okay? So that comes in November. So I think we're going to get a thumbs up. And afterwards, the idea will be in February to again meet with the AAPC and to, at that time, really share with them what we think a final flowchart should look like, what a final case studies should look like, and what the Q&As should be. So with that being said, currently we are internally planning on scrubbing the Q&As. I've asked Alan Perry, on our leases program manager, and Melissa Batchelor, our reporting entity program manager, to take a look at the flowchart and the Q&As. If they wanted to provide comments on the case studies, they could, but we don't have a case study dealing with leases or reporting entity, I don't believe. Certainly not for leases, because Brian Robinson did a form and content review for us, and he made the suggestion that we might want to develop a case study to deal specifically with leases. We might have one on reporting entity. I'm not so sure. I'd have to go back. I drafted these along with an audit team about 2 years ago, and with everything else going on, I can't keep everything on the tip of my tongue, or fingertips, I should say. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I don't think there's a specific case study dealing with reporting any. But nonetheless, Alan and Melissa will look at the Q&As and the flowchart, provide us feedback, and I will bring you that feedback once they give it to me, and then we will discuss it as a task force. And ultimately, this is my product kind of thing. We want it to, of course, coincide with what Alan and Melissa and their views are, because they are authors of these 2 standards, so we have to consider that as well. And at the end of the day, it's like a baby. We kind of give the baby up, right? The baby grows up and wants to get married or wants to move out of the house. Well, that's going to happen, and we're going to lose the TR. We're not going to be able to, coddle it anymore, and it's no longer ours. It'll become the AAPC's, and ultimately the board's responsibility, okay? All we can do is the best that we can. So let me just say, I wanted to keep this short. I want to thank all of you for participating on the task force. And as I said at the meeting yesterday, even if your views are different officially when you come through your agency, we're fine with that. I appreciate whatever view you have on the task force. I appreciate the pushback, the questioning. What I don't appreciate, and I haven't received it from this task force, is when you have people who are not collegial and who attempt to obstruct. That I haven't had any problem with. You've all been super. So I just want to thank you again. Don't feel as though, what you say at the task force, I'm going to hold you to. I'm not. We're not going to quote names or anything like that. So you're free to exercise your thinking at the task force level, whether it be what your agency wants or not is up to you and how you want to work that out. But we again appreciate your input both at the task force level and with your respondent comments, for those of you that did respond. Okay, keep up the good work. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And I guess we're also, like I said, part of the internal scrubbing. We're going to close out some comments in the TR. So if any of you have any last comments that you want to make on that draft document, let me know. All right. I prefer an email or a telephone call. I guess, homing pigeon won't work, or, so I guess those are the ways you're going to communicate with me. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, have a great weekend. Thank you.